Welcome one and all to the very first episode of Life at the Beggar's Tomb. Had to think about that for a second because I haven't said it before. And that might be the way this first episode goes a little bit. It's unscripted and I'm not used to doing it. It's the first time. So you got the definition of what the Beggar's Tomb is all about. And now we're going to pay tribute to one of those artists that were referred to. Rather recent addition to the Beggar's Tomb. Robert Hunter passed away the summer before last. Didn't have to live to see 2020, but he was a visionary. He may have seen some things coming. Anyhow, what about the life at a tomb? Well, there is some contradiction there. You know, you got the concept of death and the concept of life, but they're not necessarily opposites as much as they are just two different parts of the cycle. You think about a tree and you think about the soil. When that tree falls down, it's going back to the soil. New trees sprout, and they'll pull that same soil back up. So, just as life isn't permanent, neither is death. But what we're doing here is a little bit, well, it's actually quite a bit different than the animal kingdom or the plant kingdom, the way they recycle. We're human beings, and through art, we have a special gift because Robert Hunter, he transferred a lot of his knowledge into things that are still here. So his thoughts can echo around the brains all over the world still to this day. Could potentially be in more thoughts than they were when they were in his one single flesh. The flesh is impermanent. Robert Hunter's work, it might stand for a darn long time, and if I got any say in it, I'm going to try and make it last as long as I can. He's a good person to start off with about the Beggar's Tomb because he understood a lot of this stuff. I'll quote a line from his song Down the Road Again, which was performed as part of the Further Festival by Mickey Hart. Also appeared on Mickey Hart's Mystery Box album. Driving down to Fiddler's Green to hear a tune or two, I thought I saw John Lennon there. He's looking kind of blue. I sat down beside him, said, "I thought you bought the store." He said, "I heard that rumor. And what can I do you for?" I said, "Have you written anything I might have never heard?" He picked up his guitar and he strummed a minor third. Now, all I can recall of what he sang, for what it's worth, "As long as songs of mine are sung, I'm with you on this earth." I'm not going to be singing any of Robert Hunter's songs today, but I am going to be reading some of his words. Some things that are kind of maybe more rare. Maybe you never heard them before. And life at the Beggar's Tomb. Right now I'm going to give a portion of my life to resurrect a little bit of Robert Hunter's life. These are going to be his thoughts. He doesn't have a mouth and flesh to speak, but he's about to speak because these are his words. Resurrection Rag by Robert Hunter. In the ruby light of the crescent moon, calm in the aftermath of doom, vines twine round the slice of the knife, flowers, seeds, and traces of life. A wind from the west plays flute on the holes of ash blue craters, a melody rolls. The voice of the song, so strangely like you, when the moon was white and the sky still blue. Resurrection Rag, the voice of the moon. I've heard it before, I remember the tune. 12 crimson stars shine bright overhead. They shall make music to wake the dead. With breath in our bodies we sing the refrain. With flesh on our bones we feel softness and pain. With hope in our hearts, with trust in our eyes, we arise. We have risen, we arise, we have risen. We arise. I think that's a pretty good way to open up this first episode of Life at the Beggar's Tomb. Robert Hunter, I mean, you know, the Beggar's Tomb obviously gets its name from his line in Uncle John's band, but there's a little bit more to there's maybe another line that's relevant to that you might not have heard. And I'm going to read that one to you next. Here it is. Willie Morris. I'm a vagabond evangelist with a mighty healing touch. I'm one half fighting Irish, I'm one half double Dutch. My name is Willie Morris, and I preach the revelation. I'm a rough and ready rider in the service of the kingdom. When I call the power down, short men stand up taller. The lame and halt kick up their heels, the dumb begin to holler. Upon the stage I strut my stuff with sanctifying grace, with righteousness within my soul and rapture on my face. Don't turn away, step up and see what I can do when you believe. I was born a Jersey boy, my folks had wealth and pull. One thing about good people, though, they do get dreadful dull. When I took up testifying, they said, don't bring shame on us. If you work in this county, son, be sure to change your name. The Lord wants you to dress in style and drive the very best. As long as you take care of me, I'll take care of the rest. One thing about the kingdom, though, it's always kingdom come. So I get by on glory be, plus tambourine and drum. Don't turn away, step up and see what I can do if you believe. I'm honest as the people who admit to being saved, yet I grow as mean as a weed upon a beggar's grave. Squirm, you sinners, howl and moan, the devil is your due. But if you will take care of me, I will take care of you, 'cause I'm a vagabond evangelist with a mighty healing touch. I'm one half fighting Irish, boys, the other half double Dutch. You know my name is Willie Morris, and I preach the revelation. I'm a rough and ready rider in the service of the kingdom. Don't turn away, step up and see what I can do when you believe, when you believe, when you believe. Have you heard that one by Robert Hunter before? I hope you hadn't. But if you had, that's a good thing too, because that means you're studied. You're doing your homework. That's a good thing. What did you think about that line about as mean as a weed on a beggar's grave? So that's the other line that Robert Hunter wrote. So he liked the concept of the beggar's tomb. And it's fitting that he should open this up. He's the first guy we're memorializing here, but a lot of great guys, and we got a long ways to go with this. We're going to get through all of them. And we might come back to Hunter here too some more. Got another one I'm going to do, because that was a preacher. And there's a lot of good preachers out there doing a lot of good stuff. Not everybody that does good stuff is a preacher, and not everybody who's a preacher does good stuff. This next one is called Jacob Baum, Water Witch. I dug in that spot before. I didn't find no water. Tell me, how do you do it? Where do you get that power? I got it from my father, who was a seventh son. Don't really need no willow wand, though I guess it helps me some. Water witch, come now, bend your willow and see. Is there water in my land? Cool, sweet water for me? Find the water now, cold, clear water. Flow from an underground spring. Come, cool water, oh come, sweet water. Please bend your willow and see. Jacob Baum in Knee-High Valley, 1949. All the wells were long gone dry. Heaven presented no sign. Now Jacob could sniff a hidden spring like a hound could track a scent. Water never failed to show wherever his willow bent. But Preacher Will got in his head that Jacob was the devil. He said no one could do this thing and still be on the level. During the controversy, Jacob doused the chapel ground, and he found a mother wellspring there, enough to go around. It so happened that Preacher Will, he owned that plot of land. He got it on a deed of trust from someone lately damned. You should have seen his colors change, his true concern turned round to how much he could profit from that water in the ground. Water which come now, bend that will and see, is there water in my land, cool, sweet water for me? Find the water now, cold, clear water, flow from an underground spring. Come, cool water, oh come, sweet water, bend your willow and see. Everyone saw through a scam to profit from disaster. Nonetheless, our hands were tied. Our need made him the master. Till Jacob shook his willow wand in anger at the sky, and rain fell down for 7 days, till not one well was dry. Preacher Will snuck out of town that day the sun returned. We took up a collection to pay Jacob for what he'd earned. He said, I can't accept your pay, or my power will be lost. Thank you for your faith in me. That's going to be all it costs. Water which come now, bend your will and see. Is there water in my land? Cool, sweet water for me. Find that water now. Cool, clear water, flow from an underground spring. Come, cool water, oh come, sweet water. Please bend your willow and see. Come, cold water, come, cool, sweet water. Jacob, bend your willow and see. Which the water now, cold, clear water now, cold, sweet water for me. That's the three ones I had in mind for Robert Hunter. Everybody knows Robert Hunter. Well, people who know who Robert Hunter is know that he is most closely associated with as the lyricist for the Grateful Dead and his work with Jerry Garcia. He's also had another Grateful Dead family collaboration that has been very close with David Nelson. He wrote good number of songs for the David Nelson Band and the New Rise of the Purple Sage. Great songs, and songs after Jerry passed away. Now, it's a little bit of history there. Is back in 1963, David Nelson, Jerry Garcia, and Robert Hunter were the Wildwood Boys. That predates Mother McCree's Uptown Jug Champions. So, if you don't know where David Nelson and the New Rise of the Purple Sage stand within the family, you should learn that now, because he's still with us and you can have a heck of a good time at some of his concerts. And Robert, he gave him some good lyrics on some of their new stuff, and they've changed a lot since the 70s. I tell you what, the incarnation of the New Rise of the Purple Sage, when they came back in 2005 to the present, great stuff. And the David Nelson Band, is crazy to think that they're going on 30 years. I believe they started in 1994, so they've got 27 years under their belt, almost as long as Jerry played with the Grateful Dead. Unbelievable. But they're under the radar. The good thing about that is you guys see them and you're seeing them in pretty intimate atmospheres, clubs, bars, and not a bad seat in the house. They're not huge stars. They're not getting swamped by people, so they'll walk right past you. Might even say hi. Heck, you never know. What else can I tell you about Robert Hunter? Okay, that's in one collaboration. He wrote for a band called Zero, a whole album worth of stuff. He, tell you, if you question how good of a songwriter he is, consider the fact that he wrote a whole album of songs for Bob Dylan at Bob Dylan's request. Now, Bob Dylan's, a lot of people say, some people who don't love Bob Dylan like they should, don't give him his just deserve. So he's a good songwriter. He can't sing very well. So you might expect, may not be as big of a deal if you do one of Bob Dylan's songs. But no, Robert Hunter is such a great songwriter that the great songwriter Bob Dylan asked him to write songs for him. And Robert Hunter was quite proud of that. That was before he did the whole album. Back when he did the first song he did for him, Silvio. When he did Silvio for Bob Dylan, Robert Hunter said, you can get your Grammys, you can get your Bammies, you can get your Whammies. But Bob Dylan asked me if he could perform one of my songs. And that's a heck of an award right there. And somebody said, did he ask? But he asked if he could do one of the songs. He's like, well, no, he didn't ask. He said, hey, I'm going to do Sylvia. Bob Dylan doesn't have to ask if he's going to do the song. Now, some people might have a big enough ego to think Bob Dylan should have to ask him, but Robert Hunter's a real good mellow guy. Never got to be a real big star, kind of behind the scenes. Heck, he could have walked right past a lot of us and we wouldn't have known him, but because we knew him for his lyrics more. I wasn't going to do another one, but that Sylvia, since we mentioned it, that's a real good one. Stake my future on a hell of a pass. Looks like tomorrow is coming on fast. Ain't complaining about what I got. I seen better times, but who has not? Silvio, silver and gold won't buy back the beat of a heart grown cold. Well, Silvio, I got to go find out something only dead men know. Honest as the next jade rolling that stone. When I come knocking, don't throw me a bone. I'm an old boll weevil looking for a home, and if you don't like it, you can leave me alone. I can snap my fingers and require the rain from a clear blue sky and turn it off again. I can stroke your body and relieve your pain, and I can charm the whistle off an evening train. Hey, Silvio, silver and gold won't buy back the beat of a heart grown cold. No, Silvio, I got to go. I'm gonna find out something only dead men know. Give what I got until I got no more. I take what I get until I even the score. You know why I love you, and furthermore, when it's time to go, you got an open door. I can tell you fancy, I can tell you plain. You give something up for everything you gain. And since every pleasure's got an edge of pain, you better pay for your ticket and don't complain. Hey, Silvio, silver and gold ain't gonna buy back a beat of a heart grown cold. No, Silvio, I got to go to find out something only dead men know. One of these days, and it won't be long, I'm going down in the valley and sing my song. I will sing it loud, I'll sing it strong, let the echo decide if I was right or wrong. Hey, Silvio, silver and gold won't buy back the beat of a heart grown cold. No, Silvio, I got to go find out something only dead men know. And now he knows, and we don't. Yet, but we might have some good suspicions. I don't know. It's a very common expression to say somebody doesn't know what they're doing. And on the outset of this first episode of Life from the Beggar's Tomb, see, I even said the name of the show wrong. This first episode of Life at the Beggar's Tomb, I said, there wasn't a script, and I also said that I wasn't going to sing any of the Hunter songs. And then I did sing some songs, and now I got a script. I mean, just a couple of things written down, and I got them written down for a good reason, because these are things that, even just this sample, this tiny, couldn't even call it a documentary of Robert Hunter, but just something to tell a little bit about Robert Hunter. These things couldn't be left out because I forgot to mention his very important 3 albums that he made with Mickey Hart after Jerry passed away. Those are 2 valuable songs and too important of a part of his career to have left out. The book of lyrics that we have for Robert Hunter, right now it concludes in 1993. And there's so much he's done after that, and I was really disappointed to find out that they haven't updated it. Because at the beginning of this, he kind of funny because he discusses the fact that it's not the whole set of his lyrics, and as much as he wants there to be a whole set of his lyrics, he knows what that means. It's the finality part of it. But that being said, heck, even if, how many years is he? Over 20 years of great stuff he did since this book's been written. But that's just how prolific the guy is. Some people write songs for a band. He writes an album. He delivers albums. Okay. Aside from the 3 albums with Mickey Hart, something else that's too big to not mention that I had to write down so I couldn't forget it. 6 albums with Grammy Award-winning country musician Jim Lauderdale. 6 albums. And a screenplay. He's written a screenplay, long form poems, essays, stuff I'm sure I don't even know about. Something that was important to Robert Hunter, the album that he did with Mickey Hart that came out in 1996. It was a great album. As a Deadhead, it was like everything the encouragement that you needed to know that not only was the scene not over, but the ground had become a whole lot more fertile somehow with Jerry's passing. Not that it was a bad thing in any way whatsoever. It's just that when one thing grows so big, it's impossible for that soil to be really fertile on that spot for all the other things. And when in his passing, he was the fertilizer that made the ground ridiculously rich. I'm really surprised that there hasn't been a whole lot more, but I'll tell you why. Okay, now I'm going to get back to Robert Hunter, what he felt a crucial moment in history of really civilization, you could say, because the Grateful Dead had gotten so big that they were playing football stadiums for multiple days at a time, not just one day. There's no other acts really do that, and they were that big. But then when he made this new album after Jerry passed away with Mickey Hart, like once again, and not only amazing album but super current. Wasn't retro, wasn't classic rock, anything like that. The Dead should never be categorized like that. That's something that's always made them special. Was they're singular. They can be futuristic. They can be ancient, primitive sound of music. It's just whatever feeling is there. But Walmart decided that they weren't going to carry the album. And this was in a time when people didn't order from eBay and stuff like that. It was a time when, for a lot of people, that would have been their source, the mainstream public. If it had been carried by them and been on the shelves and been like, oh, this is what the Grateful Dead's doing now, it would have been huge. That's what Hunter felt, and he had every reason to feel that way. And while the executives of Walmart could assume that they know better about what people want out of music than members of the Grateful Dead, well, whatever. But it kept him ridiculously prolific, that's for sure. He worked right up to the end, worked his butt off, and who knows what the reach is, and necessarily reaching all the people. It could be reaching just the right people. That could be what things tip on. And okay, back to what I started at the beginning of this difference between someone who doesn't know what they're doing and someone not knowing what they're going to do. That's the open-endedness that I wanted to make sure that this had. So I did say some things on what I was going to do, and then I did them differently. But that's because I felt that there needs to be a certain amount of open-endedness, like there always was with the Grateful Dead, the jams, because that's where you let influence can come in. If you got the concept of dogma, not to try and make this into more philosophical than it needs to be. But if you decide from the get-go everything that's going to be done, you're not leaving it open for magic or for God to get involved or whatever, or other people. It's just, I like that open-ended part of it, and I hope it works out. I hope you enjoyed it too. And once again, thanks if you're there. I'm glad you see me. I can't see you. Later.